gone like this because thought he was half alright, but you're fucking great. And you're going to get your head punched in. Yeah.
On March 30th, heavyweight boxing fans tuned in to what they assumed would be, to put it bluntly, a fairly low-level domestic clash.
Their view of me is, oh, Bryce says he's been knocked out, he's quit, he's got no chin, he's got no balls and this and that.
David Price, as I'm sure many of you are aware, has always been credited as one of the hardest punchers in the current heavyweight scene.
Price switches the attack downstairs, then finishes it with a beautiful right hook. What a finish from Price!
But as time has progressed, the big man has laid his flaws out on numerous occasions for his opponents to capitalize on. Most notably, his questionable chin and worrisome stamina have led to some brutal KO defeats at the contender level.
Oh, beautiful shot.
Oh, dear.
Moving back down in class to try and rebuild his confidence, Price took on the slippery and relatively capable Cash the Flash Ali.
He was spawning 15 rounds in gym before Chris Nammer went, ooh, you stop quitting. Come on, man. There's no quit in me, bro. I've had bigger battles outside the ring.
Despite talking a big game in the press conference, the lack of competitive fights on Ali's 15-0 record led the fans and bookmakers alike to believe he had slim chance of winning.
This is all new for him, this kind of stage.
The fight itself was a boring one for the most part. To be fair to Ali, he surprised a few people by comfortably winning the first 4 to 5 rounds, and just as David appeared to be running out of gas, he bizarrely committed one of the most pointless fouls I can think of.
I think he's indicating as well that Ali has bitten David Price on the chest.
It wasn't until the ref waved off the contest and awarded Price the decision by disqualification that we realized he didn't just bite it once, but a possible 3 or 4 more times while the ref wasn't looking.
And he kind of rugby tackled me to the floor, and that's when he took that little chunk out, so...
Crazy stuff, and just another DQ clip to enter the Boxing Hall of Shame.
Now I'm in position. Let's get it. A mafia, the stack maker. When it comes to these bitches, I'm a backbreaker.
We were promised a huge set of elite showdowns in the heavyweight division this year, but with various political factors such as Tyson Fury joining ESPN, it appeared the 3 foremost fighters, Fury, Wilder, and Joshua, all had to come through a warm-up fight, so to speak, before we could see them collide with each other.
More than a knockout. I'm taking him. I'm the Reaper. I'm taking him, and it just got that serious.
First up was Deontay Wilder in the hardest fight out of the warm-ups against the proven tough guy, Dominic Breazeale. When Joshua KO'd Breazeale in 2016, I think it's fair to say boxing fans labeled the former college ball player as a tough challenger, but without the real quality needed to become a worthy contender. Fast forward the clock 8 months, and he proved the boxing world wrong as he showed a new array of strengths by clawing his way off the canvas to beat the dangerous, undefeated prospect Izu Aguna in a thrilling 5-round contest.
He needs to finish it now.
He's on weary legs. He's hurt. It's over.
Wilder was coming off a thrilling contest himself against the lineal champ Tyson Fury, only in the eyes of many, including myself, he was very fortunate to get the decision, despite flexing his ever-murderous power once again.
So what's going to happen in this fight?
I'm going to knock him out. His life is on the line with this one, and I'm not playing.
His life is on the line.
His life is on the line with this.
Wilder was catching headlines once again for his questionable trash talk before the fight, which attracted some negative attention from past and present champions. Regardless of the public perception, Wilder used that energy to put on a truly destructive performance, leading to, in my opinion, the 2019 KO of the year so far.
For having the character to throw with him and
Wilder hit Breazeale so hard, they are feeling it in Brazil. Mamma mia!
In true Wilder fashion, he called out every fighter in the division in his post-fight interview, capping off a close-up perfect performance.
Because Dominic Breazeale will stand right in front of Deontay Wilder, and as we saw, Wilder detonated that big right hand and it was game over.
There's a new heavyweight from Africa on the scene.
The one and only Jogba.
10 fights. 10 knockouts. Each more devastating than the last. The Nigerian nightmare, Efe Ajagba, has been making waves in the last 12 months or so with his aggressive boxer-puncher style.
Your promoter Richard Schaefer compared you to a young Mike Tyson with the kind of fear you instill in your opponents.
There have already been comparisons with the likes of him and Deontay Wilder, but I personally think the 25-year-old has still got a lot to learn.
Whatever outwork Ajagba would be that of Evander Holyfield.
big right hand that connected sledgehammer on Nick Jones.
He is on the slower side compared to other fighters, and despite having a notable amateur career, it has to be said his skills still look rather novice. I like the comparison more with him and Daniel Dubois, two young big punchers with a lot to learn.
Cook is looking carefully, and now, that's surely it! Massive right hand!
Unlike Dubois, however, Ajagba has stepped up considerably in 2019. 2 wins over Amir Mansour and Michael Vollich respectively has escalated not only his experience, but his popularity, with some videos on YouTube at close to 1 million views. The hype train has started, but anyone with a pair of eyes can see he still has a long way to go.
I see a bright future ahead of me.
While fresh fighters like Ajagba, Dubois, and Urkovich are on their way up, it was only a year ago that a beloved young heavyweight by the name of Dave Allen seemed to be down and out.
Oh man! 10 seconds remaining! Oh, that's enough weight, and that's it. Stops it.
If you're not familiar with the White Rhino, allow me to rewind the clock back to the YouTube interview that put him on the map.
There's going to be thousands of women out there like, oh my God, look at that big heavyweight man over there, that Rhino. But all the men that have tuned in are going to be like, what the fuck is this fat lump doing? Smashing the other fat lump in the head. Fucking rugby tackling the other fat fucker on the floor.
Before you jump the gun, yes, he was only joking, and that's kind of the story for Dave Allen so far. A fun-loving, easygoing young guy that enjoys making people laugh just as much as he loves knocking a guy out.
Not really. If it happens, I'm not scared about fighting anyone. You know, I've watched Luis Ortiz straight off the sofa. After that fight, I couldn't get an erection for weeks on end.
Well, you couldn't?
No, should have seen it when I could. It was really impressive.
YouTube views are great, but Dave is still a boxer, and fortunately for him, the fans from the comfort of their sofa are getting off their backside and supporting Allen around the country.
That's what the fuss is about.
On April 20th, 2019, Allen and his army of fans reached the pinnacle, a packed-out O2 arena with the White Rhino topping the bill against the former world champion Lucas Brown.
For me, I think, there's nothing bad to say about Dave Allen. He's a lovely guy. Handshakes, all that sort of stuff, but as soon as the bell goes, we're going to punch the shit out of each other, so...
Without sugarcoating the fact, Brown isn't exactly an elite world beater in his prime. The Aussie heavyweight was 39 years old and had never really shrugged off the brutal KO defeat to Dillian Whyte just a year prior. Either way, Allen backed up his promises to the fans for a new and improved version of himself. A perfectly timed left hook to the body put Brown down and out for 10.
But obviously, because it was Dave Allen, it was like, was it a fluke? I don't know. He's like, me and Barker have been working on that. A slip left hook to the body. I was like, are you sure? I'm so pleased for him.
It's been 80 years since the Cinderella Man stunned Max Baer, 30 years since Buster Douglas iced Iron Mike, and 15 years since Hasim Rahman punished the pugilist specialist for some sloppy mistakes.
Oh, he's got it! He got careless and he's got it!
No one forgets the big ones, but at a glance, it didn't seem the out-of-shape Mexican Andy Ruiz would even stand a chance of such glory against the 6'6" Iron Man, Anthony Joshua.
Prove all the doubters, and that's the main thing that we got to do is go in there, win, and prove everybody wrong. And if we get the knockout, that'll be perfectly.
Without a doubt, Ruiz played some mind games in the build-up. He couldn't have been any more respectful. There was no trash talk, no bad blood. He came across like a complete pushover.
You don't want to talk because this robot, I will whoop him. You know, I thought he's a cool guy, do you know what I mean? I said, I'll go in there and I just beat him up slowly, but if he talks reckless, I will bat him. Like, I'll show him what this robot can do. So it's up to him how he wants to approach the fight. If he wants to talk reckless, then he'll be in for a proper scrap.
Casual fans could pick a winner at the weigh-in. Hardcore fans could pick a winner based on resumes, skill sets, and physical advantages. It was just impossible to fathom a route to victory for Andy Ruiz. And then, the first bell rang.
Against former world title challenger, the proud Andy Ruiz Jr.
After a very close opening 3 rounds, Joshua floored Ruiz with a lightning 2-punch combo on the inside. But to the surprise of many, the big man made it back to his feet in an instant and went all guns blazing. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Ruiz, unlike Joshua, played a much more intelligent game after his knockdown. He recognized AJ had the power to turn the fight his way, so he bided his time and capitalized on the many mistakes the Brit made over the next few rounds. 3 knockdowns later, the ref had no choice but to wave off the contest, changing not only the entire heavyweight landscape, but the life of Andy Ruiz forever.
It's the biggest upset since Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. Have you spoken to Buster Douglas?
I haven't, you know what, but it's a blessing to be here and becoming the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world.
We'll go into more detail about the fight and the upcoming rematch in a Tale of the Tape video, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
16 straight title defenses now for Klitschko.
Since the Ukrainian Klitschko brothers hung up their gloves, we're still searching for another Eastern European heavyweight to step up and try and fill their albeit very heavy boots. Fighters like Pulev, Povetkin, and Shagayev have had their chance and are all looming around that retirement age. Alexander Usyk is the guy 99% of people would favor being next up to challenge the Big Three, which is understandable considering the spectacular performances he put on time and again while dominating the cruiserweight division.
Oh my gosh!
But for me, as talented as he is, the big guys just punch so hard at the moment, it's going to be a tall order for any fighter of any quality to move up a weight and compete, which I suppose puts me in the 1% bracket with the other hardcore fans that have high hopes for 6'6" Croatian Klitschko clone, Filip Urkovic.
I believe I can beat all the heavyweights in the division, but I think I'm a better fighter than Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I spar with him, I spar with Deontay Wilder. I think I'm the most complete fighter in the division.
The big man has a current record of 8-0 and has recently signed a co-promotional deal with Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Sports.
Urkovic is a beast. I mean, he's a big problem for a lot of heavyweights.
Urkovic has a massive amateur pedigree and has fought just about every name out there with notable wins over now prominent pros Joseph Parker and Tony Yoka.
Unanimous decision. Let's hear it for Filip Urkovic.
Alexander Teslenko, Ivan Daichko, and Vladislav Serenko are a few other notable Eastern Europeans moving up the ranking. But for now, I think Filip Urkovic is the best of the bunch.
And in a 1 or 2 years, hopefully I will be the part of this elite group of heavyweights and deliver to the fans a great fight.
While we couldn't cover every single heavyweight fighter in today's recap, we've saved the biggest and best for last.
People are writing him off, and rightly so, because I'm going to write him off on the 15th of June. You're going to see him busted for the first time in his full life. So I'm looking forward to it.
On June 15th, the Gypsy King Tyson Fury was back in action and out to make a statement following Wilder's blowout of Brazil and Joshua's shock loss to Ruiz.
It's usually always me who gets the criticism for being fat. So I'm happy there's another fat guy on the team.
Fury has been on the end of some pretty harsh criticism throughout his career. Not for his ability to sell a fight, that's a gimme.
I think this is a free-hit fight. I hit him, he hits the floor, Tyson Fury hits New York.
But more so for his ability to back up his big words with entertaining performances.
Now AJ says I'm a boring fighter, but then looks up to Floyd Mayweather.
Fortunately, for himself and fans alike, the epic showdown with Deontay Wilder had millions of talking points for all the right reasons. It was quite simply a heavyweight classic.
This was an inspirational fight between two fighters who on this
as it draws closer. Just before we sign off, we thought we would quickly montage BLTV's personal top 20 heavyweights in the current game. This is not the guys with the best resumes and achievements, but rather a list of fighters I'd pick to win against each other based on pound-for-pound ability.
In sports.
Detail as it draws closer. Just before we sign off, we thought we would quickly montage BLTV's